All right, everybody, welcome back. It is Tuesday, so it's Testament Tuesday. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Mr. David himself. Hello.
Hey, Brianne.
Is it David, say the last name? Jarzinka.
Jarzinka, nailed it.
But, like, there's no weird pronunciation of it?
Well, that's funny. It's actually been Englishized already. It used to be Yajenka.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, surely there's some weird way to say it.
Yeah, so I actually had a Polish, she was like my third grandma, that she refused to call me Jarzinka because that's not how you say it.
I didn't think that was right either. I was like, no, that's not a thing. Okay. It's a great last name, but I was like, surely there's some interesting way to pronounce it. Cool. So now we know, everyone. Now we know. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. If you're listening for the first time, Testament Tuesday is basically the place where we can come and share our story to give God glory. It is just giving testimony to the wonderful things that God does in our lives every day. But specifically for those who are telling or sharing kind of their encounter with the Lord and the ways in which He pursued them through their life, which is always a fascinating thing when you look back at it. So, David, I guess take us to the beginning, man. Where did it all begin?
Yeah, great question. For me, it all began at birth.
Mm-hmm.
I was baptized Catholic. And growing up, going to Mass was of the utmost importance. I went to Catholic school until the 8th grade. So we would actually go hunting. That was a big time family thing. And we would always end up leaving early to go to Sunday Mass, and our hunting buddies would be like, oh, why don't you just stay for one more hunt? And no, this was like a foundational element of what we were doing. So, and I was very blessed to have two very Catholic grandfathers, two very Catholic grandmothers that helped to raise me up in the faith. But excuse me.
David just had Chipotle, everyone. So I feel like when he told me, he walked in and he's like, I'm going to go eat lunch. I was like, all right. And then he came back and said he went to Chipotle. And I said, uh-oh. Because I feel like every time people eat Chipotle, they just sit here and burp Chipotle.
That was a cough. That was not a burp. Anyways.
Oh, okay. I'm like, you're going to burp all that Chipotle into my microphone. The next person who sits down is going to be like, wow.
Why does this smell so weird?
Like burritos. Anyways, tangent. Okay, so growing up, yeah, you're still setting the stage here.
Yes. So definitely being able to know the precepts of the church, knowing the 10 Commandments, and going to Sunday Mass, going to confession a couple of times a year. That was very much a part of my growing up experience. I was very into baseball, played baseball all throughout my childhood and into high school. And I was very close to my sisters. I have twin sisters that are seniors right now at Stephen F. Austin, Axe and Jacks.
Oh, okay.
So all of these things were going on, but I didn't know the person of Jesus. I knew how to pray the rosary. I knew when to sit and stand, and I knew all of these things during Mass. But the person of Jesus and this personal relationship hadn't come alive. So here I am. I'm going off to college, and I toured probably 6 or 7 different universities throughout the Midwest and Texas. And throughout all of this, I knew there was a Catholic church in town, but I didn't go look at a single campus ministry. I was like, okay, there's a Catholic church. I'll go to Mass every Sunday, and I don't know, maybe go to confession every once in a while. So my very first weekend at Stephen F. Austin, my parents had taken me to get my dorm set up. We're moving in, and then it was time to say goodbye. We'd gone to Sunday Mass. It was the first time I stepped in. I've moved in now. I'm going to church at St. Mary's, and I had to go get my books to get ready for class on Monday. And my parents dropped me off. They said, okay, see you later. So here I am. I've got this box of books that I'm walking out of the student center with, and lo and behold, I see Father James Rowland on campus. I'm like, okay, this big 6'4" Irish priest. I should probably go talk to him.
Hard to miss something like that. You're like,
absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a little bit of line that formed to talk to him. And while I was waiting in line, Colin Slattery came up to me and was like, hey, hi, I'm a Focus missionary. What's your name? And so we hit it off. We became friends very quickly. And it started out very simply. I mean, St. Mary's did a great job of hosting events every day that like I could come to as a freshman. And then, so I kept seeing Colin's face around, and a couple of weeks into the semester, he invited me into Bible study. And I thought to myself, I went to Catholic school for all these years. Like, I've kind of pushed off Bible studies because I think I know, I'm well catechized, right? I don't need to learn more about the Bible. But I gave it a shot. I was like, okay, like, sure, Colin, like, I'll go to Bible study. But I realized on my way, I was like getting ready to go, maybe like packing up my stuff. I was like, I don't actually have a Bible. Like, I didn't bring a Bible to college. So I texted my mom. I was like, hey mom, can you send me a Bible? And my mother loved to hear that because, what do college kids usually want?
Gosh, I bet every mother would just like die to get like a request like that from her kiddo. Like,
yeah,
bring me my Bible.
Just moved out of the house, on my own, living the college experience. Mom, can you send me a Bible? So
she sends you like 20 of them.
Oh, yeah. Give them to your friends. Yeah, here's 7 different translations. It'll be great. It was in this Bible study that I really heard the gospel for the first time. That I started to answer some of these questions about, like, what is my purpose in life? Who am I made to be? And came to realize how Jesus Christ not only died for everyone, and I just happen to be part of everyone, but he died specifically for me. And he came to forgive me of my sins, to be in a relationship with me. And throughout this time, like, Colin had started to teach me how to pray, what it meant to actually have a prayer life and not just, go through the motions on Sundays. His first challenge to me was to sit in my dorm room, like, no Bible, no rosary. Like, I couldn't do anything scripted. I had to sit there for 5 minutes. I could even set a timer if I wanted to just talk to God. And just talk to God however I wanted to. And
it's harder than people think.
Oh, those first 5 minutes, I looked over like every 45 seconds. I was like, am I done yet? Am I done yet? This feels so long.
Because you just want something to do. Like, give me a rosary, give me a Bible, like, give me something to do. And it's like, no, just sit, be still, and know that, God is God. And you're like, wait, but what do I do?
Like, exactly. Like, I've already told him about all the stuff that's going on in my life, and he already knows it. So if I just kind of skim through it, that's fine.
Yeah. Man. So were you able to do it? I mean,
yeah. I remember,
painstakingly so, I'm sure. But
yes, it was tough. His challenge was to do it every day for a week. And I think I might have done it 3 times that first time. I was like, I don't want to do this again today. Like, I did it yesterday, but it was a starting process.
Yeah.
It was a starting point. Another thing that was a big thing in my freshman year of college was they had Tuesday night adorations. And growing up, I'd never been to adoration. I had no idea what this was.
Wow.
Yeah. And I knew that, the true presence of the Eucharist. I like conceptually knew that, and I'd learned about that in religion class. But there was something about sitting in front of the monstrous that I'm just like, this makes sense, but this is weird.
Yeah, I get it. I feel like relatable.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just an hour. And in that time, we were able to do praise and worship. We were able to do, I did pray the rosary then. I was able to not just sit there in silence. And that was the start of a more regular prayer life. And yeah, so that was where it all started. It was Tuesday night adorations in St. Mary's Chapel.
Yeah. Because I know you said, like, growing up, you were involved in the church and you knew a lot of these things. And so it's like you had the head knowledge, like conceptually, all the pieces were in place. You understood why we believe what we believe and that sort of thing. But for it to end up somehow in your heart and not just your head, for it to be this personal thing, for it to be something that is for you, like your relationship between God is like between you and him, instead of just like, oh, this is what the Catholic Church teaches. That's a hard transition for a lot of people to make, but I think sitting before the Lord in adoration, like, that slowly begins to unfold in your heart, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. He just goes to work in those times, right?
Yeah.
Because that's exactly right. I knew the truth. I knew about all of these things, but I hadn't really experienced them.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't experienced the person of Jesus, and being in adoration helped me to do that.
Yeah. Beautiful. So that was your freshman year. So did you continue to then stay involved at the student center, or like what then came about from that?
Yeah. So I got very involved very quickly. I was able to go to SLS my freshman year, which my head got so big because could only bring 5 guys and 5 girls, and to be chosen, I was like, oh my gosh, like I am hot stuff.
I'm one of the chosen ones. For those who don't know, SLS is a Catholic conference that Focus puts on every year. Well, every other year, and then they have Seek the alternate years. But it's basically like a who's who in the Catholic world. Guest speakers who are like international speakers, and just there's mass, and you have praise and worship, and you have it's a pretty neat experience especially for people who've never been to like a Catholic conference. It's very intense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you get chosen.
Yes.
So like,
and even
you're going.
Even SLS has changed so much in the last 6 years. When I went, it was like a work conference. I mean, we had groups of, I think, about 9.
Okay.
And so 3 of us would go to different training sessions throughout the day. And then we'd come back, and all 3 groups had 45 minutes to prepare. Like, hey, I just learned this in class, and now I'm going to teach you this thing. And then now I'm going to teach you how to teach it as well. And
wow.
Then, so we would go around.
Very intense. So like workshops and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so
okay.
This gave me the tools to start a Bible study. And my freshman year, goodness gracious, it was rough. There were like 2 guys that showed up regularly, but I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm like, I know this is a good thing to do. And I know that I'm supposed to be a good Catholic and lead a Bible study now because I have the tools to do it. And I think it's a good thing. But that heart knowledge, that like deeper encounter, I hadn't quite experienced yet. I'm still just kind of in this, like, I know it's a good, so I'm going to pursue something that's good. But then in my sophomore year, I was studying computer science. I was very good at it. I mean, I enjoyed it. But I remember sitting down, I was working on a project one day, coding, and I just thought, I'm sitting behind a screen, and there are souls out there who don't know Jesus. They don't know that they were made for a relationship with God. I was very deeply convicted that I needed to do something with this information. It was about this same time, through Providence, I'm sure, that Colin asked me, hey, have you ever thought about being a missionary? And at this point, I'd already started to hear about all the fundraising and all this other stuff. And I'm about to, I'm in computer science. That's a pretty good field to be in terms of money.
Might make some money one day.
Yeah, exactly. So the thought of giving all that up, I was like, I don't know about this. But by the time my junior year started, I was so ready. I wanted so badly to just go and share the gospel with others.
Wow. So you were like on fire. You're like, all right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Actually, my junior year, I quit my job. I was working a couple hours just like on the side. I quit my job. Like, hey, actually, I've had this opportunity in leadership come up that like I really want to pursue. I want to be a missionary after college, and this opportunity to disciple others and lead Bible studies has come up that I want to go after. And of course, student discipleship, that's not a paid position at all.
No, not at all. No, but you made it sound pretty good. And so I'm sure they were like, oh, okay, I guess you do you. Wow. Okay. So that's then your junior year. And then at that point you signed up, then you knew you were going to go on to be a Focus missionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I interviewed my senior year. It was kind of more the same my junior year, and then interviewed, got the position. And both of the missionaries who had discipled me up to this point, they had interviewed once and then not gotten an offer, and they're like, no, I'm doing this. And they interviewed again and got an offer. So I'm going in with this mindset of like, even if I don't get an offer, I'm doing this. Like, I want this so badly. And so, so now here I am, hired on as a missionary, go through my first summer training with Focus. And this is now, I'm in the middle of my 3rd year with Focus at Texas State.
Woohoo.
Yeah. And gosh, if I could tell myself all of the things about like, I don't know, what I've learned over the last 3 years going into mission, to like have this understanding of who Jesus is and what love means as a first year, I don't know how great the impact could be. Like, yeah.
There's so much. It's so intense. I think anyone in missions or anyone who's doing ministry full time, I think when you start off, there's kind of like you just have this love for the Lord. But then what, at least my experience has been that I quickly find out is like, God has so much more in store for me. Like, I think I'm here to serve the Lord, and to a certain extent I am, but I think more so than that, God's like, oh no, like, yeah, you're here to serve me, but I got a lot to teach you in the process. And so it's a very intensive thing. It's certainly not like a 9-to-5 job.
No.
9 to 5, you clock in, you clock out. When you clock out, you're like done. You go home, you can shut off the world and just, do whatever you want. Whereas with ministry, it's like, you're almost on call like all the time, because it's not just a job for you. It is like a life's calling. Right.
And one thing that I'm really trying to adjust this semester and this year is I ran into this trouble of I made my mission my life. And so it was like this kind of work mentality of like, if I'm not actively on mission, then I'm not doing what I need to do.
Yep.
Whereas my staff mentor, he's been doing just great work with me to teach me these things about, no, my life is my mission. And so the way that I live my life, the way that I live order, the way that I pray, like to just invite other people into that, to invite people into my hobbies, to just encounter other people, and to love them in that, to bring them to Jesus, and then, of course, share the gospel, pray, like all of these things that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, what a great story. I don't know if you have any other like closing thoughts or kind of ways you want to wrap it up and leave people with a parting sentiment of something.
Sure. I will leave you with a scripture verse.
Cool. We love scripture, by the way, even though you came to college without your Bible. Okay.
So this is from Luke 17, and it is, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul?
That's such a heavy one. Oof. Okay.
There's nothing more important than your relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter any of these other things. It doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are. At the end of the day, if you know the Lord and love the Lord, that's all you're going to bring with you.
Yep. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. So thank you so much, David, for sharing your story. We love our Focus missionaries. I would love to at some point get our missionaries to come back and share more in depth about their discernment process. I know there's a lot of students out there who are discerning whether it's religious life, in their vocation, or they're discerning if they're called to do missions or whatever and that sort of thing. And so maybe we'll get you back on for that so we can talk about, well, what does that look like? And because it's such a journey. There's so many aspects to it. So anyone else out there listening, if you are wanting to get on the show as well and share your story to give God glory, go ahead and shoot me an email to podcast@txstatecatholic.org and we'll get you on the show. David, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm only slightly hurt that you didn't bring me any Chipotle. Only slightly.
Next time. Maybe we can go right after this.
There you go, round 2. They're going to look at you and be like, oh, you're back.
Yeah.
Why, yes, I am. All righty, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless. Bye.